So I decided to post a video instead of relying upon text. I know that can be a little bit frustrating. We have the tendency to misinterpret text based on emotions, although letters and text messages and emails and stuff are quite emotionless. They're just words. So I figure videos would be a lot better to articulate and to carry out my responses and my replies and my conversation generators as well. The Bill Hybels situation and allegations are quite unfortunate. However, we need to remember, I think a lot of us are, especially during this time, that church leaders aren't immune to any afflictions or any temptations that can come their way. And in fact, we're quite human, recognizing that the temptations that can plague us the same way that plague spiritual, non-Christian leaders. It's what makes us more human, and I think that becoming more self-aware of that is key to setting the parameters that are necessary for the success of the overall mission, but as well as keeping the integrity poised, if you will. Integrity is not something that one is necessarily born with. I believe everybody has the ability to be integral and to have to have a upright approach to leadership. I think it needs to be trained, and that comes through surrounding yourself by the right people, as well as taking the parameters, the necessary precautions as one gets placed in a position of leadership to continue the success of that, whether that be through accountability or through counseling or what have you. Hybels, in his Courageous Leadership book, I do want to point to a few things as this video unfolds. And it's just chapter 4 is the thing that is interesting to me. It says building a kingdom dream team, and the subtitle is "The Community is Close to a Leader's Heart." He kind of quotes. I'm going to paraphrase this quote on that unfold throughout page 81 through 83. He said, "Let me share what I look for in a prospective team members at Willow Creek Community Church. My selection is based on the 3 C's: first character, then competency, and then finally chemistry with me and with the rest of the team. Character first. By this I mean that I need to have confidence in a person's walk with Jesus Christ. I need to see evidence of honesty, teachability, humility, reliability, a healthy work ethic, and a willingness to be entreated. I didn't always place character above competence, but I do now. I have learned that in church work, an occasional lapse in competency can be accepted, but lapses in character create problems with far-reaching implications. In my early days of leadership, I was extremely patient in regard to slips of character, hoping against hope that things would just get better. Now that I know that usually doesn't happen, the leader must take action, the sooner the better." And this kind of conflicts with the things that are going on right now. In fact, it is actually the antithesis of what he actually went through. It seemed like maybe he didn't take the proper steps necessary to ensure the integrity of his character off the platform. But another thing that's also difficult, I want to push back against this, is that a lot of times people think that spiritual leaders are immune, and honestly, I've never once heard a congregant come up to his pastor or preacher or lay leader and ask them, "Hey, how is your spiritual walk doing? How can I pray for you?" Rather, they go to the shepherd with hungry souls and hunger and thirst that can't be beaten. And he says here the lapse in character. He says hoping against hope that things would just get better. That's not true. We can. There are sometimes it's kind of a twofold process. In my personal belief, is that the power of prayer is transformative and it does work. The older I get, the more I believe it. I also believe in self-discipline. That there's a second work of grace that needs to happen. We can't take God's grace for granted. This becomes a cheap grace. I think Dietrich Bonhoeffer speaks about this a little more in depth than some of his works. But the importance is that we can't just sit around all the time and expect God to work things out for the greater good. There has to be some working out of our salvation. There has to be some working out of our leadership as well when things hit the fan, when things become difficult, and when tribulations and trials come our way. So my question for you as well, through one question I will leave you with here is, would you agree that character is the most important characteristic when it comes to his understanding of a leader? Why or why not? And then one question I will leave you with as well. This is going to be a conversation generator, and if we step on toes, that's perfectly fine. We're all adults and we're human. Is there anybody currently on your team and your leadership team that has a character issue? Is there anybody that you know outside of the office, outside of the platform, or even outside of your normal work that don't lead by example, that their personal life doesn't match up with the way that they're leading those people? This is a question that has plagued me personally for many times, and is what's kind of sharpened me along the way. So yeah, what that looks like through all this, as well as understanding where the person lies for his capabilities of being a leader, how he or she looks within all of this. So that's my first question. And then my second question would be, when it comes to the development of a character, how does that look for those who follow after him? I know Carlos talked about the person that he had chosen as his successor. How would, when it comes to choosing a successor and you're to fill your role as you go out and retire and you pass on the legacy, how do you expect the relationship to continue? I know a lot of times in churches, some preachers never leave when they pass the reins on to the next person. That can create some division within the congregation of entrusting the flock with the shepherd. But also, on a more personal level, since Hybels went out this way, his successor probably has a lot different view of Bill. And then what is that supposed to look like for that person as well? How can people expect to trust a successor that was chosen by somebody who didn't hold up to his practices and what that he actually believed and how he believed a leader should be? It really does cause some division within the church. So how would a successor navigate those trials throughout this time period? And then what would it look like for the congregation to develop the trust for that successor if they can't really trust the previous leader at that time? This is just one video. I'll probably most likely post a couple other ones a little bit shorter as I dive into things a little bit more. So I look forward to hearing your feedback, whether through video format or typing out a response. You have a great day, guys. Thanks. Bye.